travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kahi.
And we're the Genshin
Genshin
Guys.
Guys.
Welcome all. This podcast is for fans of Genshin Impact, the mobile game made by Hoyoverse, also known as miHoYo. Here we talk about our opinions, experiences, and dreams about Genshin Impact. If you like our show, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the podcast. So before we get started, Kahi, how are you doing today?
Not alright. I have to wait a full 24 hours before the next episode of Oshinoko, and it's driving me crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait. I need to watch that more. I need to watch it again. I need to see more. It's such a good show. Did you watch it yet or no?
I did.
Oh, no, you did.
Is the second episode also going to be 90 minutes?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But if it is, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a great show. Yeah, I'm obviously obsessed with that show, but yeah, it's really good. I know this is an anime podcast, but maybe we'll have like a surprise like topic one day. Maybe like a
Well, hey, when the Genshin anime comes
episode.
out.
Oh yeah, we'll have an excuse.
Yeah. Let's talk about anime today.
Perfect
Kahi's
timing.
Kahi's Day.
Yay! Okay. And how about you, Josh? How are you doing?
I'm doing better. Definitely getting over this like cough that I've had for the past almost month now. Like it's just
Ugh.
yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, see. And so
Yeah, right there. Mhm.
basically I've been trying to stream more because I've been feeling better, and it's been fun just hanging out doing voiceover stuff. So I got some fun voiceover fan project roles that I will share once the work is out. But yeah, some fun manga dubs and also some video game dubs. So not like for video game, but like video game fan character videos. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. I will share more when I know more. But I've been doing that, and it's been fun. So that being said, let's get started with today's topics. So first, we're going to talk about our weeks in Genshin, Genshin news, Hoyofair 2023, and what is a good fight. Okay, so we're going to talk more about that as we go on. But what makes a good fight, right? So, and the last thing we will do is our community discussion question, as well as our last wish segment. Okay, so let's get started with first our weeks in Genshin. Okay, so Kahi, how has your week in Genshin Impact been?
It's been really good. We're gonna talk about story probably next episode. No, not right now, because we like to give people time. Most of our audience doesn't really just breeze through the story, or we want to make sure like everyone has a chance to at least experience some of the big story topics before we start spoiling it. So I've been doing that. I've been exploring the new open world. I have resolved to not roll for Nahida or Nilu because I'm settled on going after Baiju later on. It's gonna be at least another 2 weeks, so I'm okay with that.
Are you on?
I
Are
have
you on
enough rolls so I
50/50?
can pretty.
Are you on 50/50? Like,
Oh wait, the last 5-star I got was Dia.
okay.
The next one could be, yeah, I'm on 50/50 right now. So
hopefully it's D again.
either
right?
way, I'll probably have enough. Hopefully, yeah. Because if it's, she moved to the standard banner, which is great.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about getting a Chi-Chi.
You can
or
also
another
lose
constellation.
50/50 to her on the on the event banner, right?
Mhm.
No.
Right. So yeah, I can still get something really good later on. But yeah, Baiju is gonna be in my next lineup of characters to roll for, so I'm
Yeah.
saving. Every time I explore like a new area, I'm always looking at, oh, this is really cool scenery. Oh, this would be a good spot for a camera picture. So like I posted it in the Discord too, like I had like Zhao like overlooking like the void hole in the ground. And I didn't even realize I spent like almost an hour and a half just trying to take a good picture of like Zhao in that area, because I'm just trying to make sure I get a good angle. It's so frustrating when you're trying to make your character like do a certain pose and you have to let the animation like happen.
Yeah.
But also you have to get the camera in position while they do it, otherwise the animation's done. So I'm like going in and out of my menu to like just do a basic attack, and like as the animation settles, I have to go find the right angle and zoom in again, and it's just like I have to find the technique. It's so aggravating, but like I finally got the picture I want, and then I realized, oh, wow, I just wasted an hour and a half of my night.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably why I don't take as many pictures anymore, because I have like hundreds of pictures in my photo library of just Genshin.
Yeah, here's to hoping we get better.
I'll probably find
soon.
something. I like the camera contest. Like, for those of you listening, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, there's like weekly camera contests. It's not something like big, but it's like a word prompt by one of our community members, Kazu. And there's like a lot of other people that regularly puts pictures. So yeah, if you want to see them, you should join. We have the link in the description. But other than that, what about you, Josh? How's your week in Genshin?
It's been pretty good. It's been kind of slow. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I haven't been able to like sit down and play as much as I wanted to. But I did do two of
Still recovering. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I did do two of the Layla hangout paths though. But neither of them addresses like her when she falls asleep, she like does everything. Like, neither of these two story paths address that. So I'm kind of like, wait, what? Wait, where's that story? So I'm gonna do the rest.
Some will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure some will, because the same thing happened with Farazan.
have you done it yet?
I was gonna do like a sit down and do all of them at once. So I'm probably gonna do that either later on today or tomorrow.
Nice.
But I want to focus on like the major stories and then like the minor stories later.
Yeah. So I was just doing it because I tend to like to voice the non-voiced world quests, and I didn't want to voice them, so I just did Layla's hangout because she talks. So yeah. And so I've been thinking about some new team ideas too. Like, I kind of miss using Jean. So I'm thinking to use Jean. I mean, I have her at C4 now, so I can like use her Animo shred, so I might be able to use her in like Wanderer team. But I was thinking to make like a fun physical damage like Jean team. I don't know if it'll work or if it'll be whatever, but I think it'd be really fun to do. And then I have another team with Aloy in mind as the center, and I'm really excited to do it. So yeah, I will share that once I get it working. So but yeah.
You know what? A lot of people, I think I don't see this a lot in like clips or like gameplay or combat. A lot of people don't really use Jean's like charged attack to like kind of like disable an enemy and just have them floating there. So if you're gonna use like a bow character, just use Jean's charging attack after you're done. Switch to a bow, and then they're just shooting them while they're floating in the air. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's just free damage.
You can do that with Wanderer too.
It's great. It's funny. Yeah, I did that with Yelan. Like, I had Jean and Yelan on the same team. I did that so many times, and it's just funny how they're just slowly floating back down to the ground. They're just getting hit by all these arrows.
It is a very fun mechanic. Yeah, like making them float in the air thing. Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited for that, and I'll share more about that. But that's what I've been doing. It's been kind of slow, but pretty fun. Ooh, I did do on stream two things I want to share, which is one, I did the Teyvat GeoGuessr. Have you ever done that, Kahi?
Ooh, I have not.
It is so fun. You know GeoGuessr, right?
Yeah, so like you see a picture, you have to click a place on the map where it is.
Yes, it's so fun. I was doing that on stream, and then I did another one that our community member introduced us to. I believe it was Sarah. It was like a logic, you know the game Mastermind? It's where like you guess a character, and then it tells you like about that character, like which, like, okay, you're trying to guess a character, and you just throw character guesses at the game until you get it right. And so, like, for example, say the character that you're trying to guess is Kazuha. So then I will just guess a random character. Okay, let me guess Raiden Shogun. It's like, okay, well, Raiden Shogun is from Inazuma, but the character that you're trying to guess is not a polearm user and is not Electro. And then so you go, okay, so it's an Inazuma character.
Oh, so it confirms a thing that's tied to it.
Yes, it's a logic game.
So it just tries to reconnect all the facts. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very fun. I think you should try it. But it's called Genshin. And if you go on the website, every day they have like a quiz for that. They also have a quiz like guess this. Like they're gonna show you an elemental they're gonna show you someone's skill, like a talent or a skill or a burst, like the little icon, and sometimes they rotate it and they say, guess whose icon this is, or they say, guess whose quote this is, and it's like pretty fun. It's like a fun guessing game, like how well do you know these little things about the game. It's kind of like what we do with the quizzes.
Lore reminder too.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we do with the quizzes, but it's like riddles. A more streamlined version, and it gets old after a while because it's kind of this like
more factual.
It's like I got to a point where like there's not enough characters in the game for me to have trouble guessing. Like it got too easy. Like I never got it wrong. You only have 5 guesses, and there was a point where I just kept getting it right because there's only so many characters. So maybe once we have more.
And we know their story. We're very well acquainted.
Exactly. So anyway, those things are fun. Teyvat, GeoGuessr, and Genshin Guys. So did that this week. Very, very fun.
You know what they should do, or someone should do, or maybe we could do it. Like, you know how in the game it's already been established that, you know, stories are like technically encoded history, or like, you know, knowledge was actually like hidden within a fairy tale story. We should probably do something like that. Like come up with like a fairy tale story, but what is it? What am I actually talking about?
Oh, dude, that'll be good in our next quiz episode. Let's do that. Oh my god, we have to write a whole short story. God dang, Kahi. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than doing all of this research on like, oh, who said this at what time and what character and what year. I mean, it's fun research, but we can still like come up with our own stuff.
Yeah,
let's just be a little bit more creative.
Let's try it. I'll need some time, but yeah, we can try it. Okay, yeah. So that was my week in Genshin, and now we're gonna quickly talk about Genshin news. Okay, so in Genshin news, there actually is not much Genshin news. There's really only 2 things. One is Xiao's birthday was on April 17th. Woo, Xiao. And the other thing is the Hoyofair, which is...
Oh, Xiao. Not Hu Xiao.
Oh, Hu Xiao. Wu Xiao, not Hu Xiao.
It's just Xiao.
Yes.
Hu Xiao. No, yeah. You're thinking Hu Tao.
Yeah,
but no, that's a different character.
You know what, Kahi? I'm moving on. All right, so Hoyofair. Hoyofair was the other big news, which is the other main topic. So I'll just slide into our first topic, which is Spring Hoyofair 2023. So, basically on stream the other day, I did watch with some people that were able to show up on Twitch. And then the other day after that, we went into Discord and I was just streaming a bunch of it again because it is amazing what some of these creators come up with, and very, very fun and a refreshing take on a lot of the characters. So I just wanted to go through a couple of these honorable mentions that I really liked from this Hoyofair, and just talk about them a little bit. The first work that I wanted to talk about was the Kaveh musical called The Diagnosis, and I say Kaveh musical, but it's actually Tanari and Sino mostly doing the singing, but it was amazing. It was like a very Disney-like rendition of a musical about Kaveh admitting that he's jealous of Al-Haytham, and that's why he's always so frustrated around him. So, Kahi, you saw this, right? What did you think of this one?
Yeah. First of all, the singing's great.
Amazing.
Good voices, very clean, very, very melodic. So yeah, I love how there's like so many music videos in the Hoyofair. I can't remember too many from like last year's one, but this one just had like there's a lot of good music.
Yeah.
One thing that I did definitely respect is the writing and the lyrics, because it's not just, oh, we're singing and we just want these words to sound nice. Like there's actual flow from like sentence to sentence. That's kind of like the end of one sentence is the beginning of another sentence. It's very good transitions to each line. I like it.
Yeah. Really well.
Animation is it's crisp, well written. Yeah, it tells a little bit of a story too. I like. The Kaveh musical. How many musicals were there? There's like that one. There's the Hu Tao.
Well, as far as musicals, there was only that one, but there were a lot of songs, which I also want to talk about. So, like
I guess the others were just like other types.
This musical was like was really great because it not only is it like comical, like there's a lot of comedy to it, but there's also how can I put this? So it flows like a Disney musical in that like all the characters from around start singing at some point. There's a lot of ups and downs in like the way the music goes. It's not like a straight line. It's like very emotionally driven, like with how they're trying to really convince Kaveh to admit that he's jealous, and it is very, very, very entertaining. So especially if you love Kaveh and those people like Kaveh, Usaino, Tanari, Alhaitham, that group, and if you like musicals, then definitely worth checking out. It's called The Diagnosis, and it is by Empitsu, who is a creator. So yeah, the other ones I want to shout out, like Kahi was saying, was there were other musical works. Like there was a Hu Tao song that was fantastic called Live in Life. And it was very like Panic at the Disco, like old Panic at the Disco vibes. So I really, really like this like alternative rock, sort of jazzy. I don't remember how to explain it, but it is very catchy. It is also available on wherever music you listen to music, so like Spotify or Apple Music and stuff as well. So yeah, Hu Tao. What did you what do you think of that one, Kahi?
Immediately I thought Death Parade. Did you ever watch that before?
I have not, but I have seen the opening.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Reminds me of a lot of like real upbeat jazzy songs, like very I guess Broadway show style. It's very very fast paced, but very very quirky. It's a good mix of instruments, good fusion. But the thing I like about this is that it carried like a really cool theme, or an underlying theme of all the phrases that were used. Like it even like just helps discover Hu Tao's character a little bit more, because Hu Tao is like the funeral parlor. She's the director, right? Not Zhongli. Zhongli's just, he's like their helper or employee. But Hu Tao's the director. How many directors were there? Like 50
77.
something?
She's a 77.
77, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think it was that much. Okay, but yeah, it's almost like you're uncovering her overarching motive or view of like life and death.
Yeah,
like
great.
Live in life and leave the dying to the dead. She has a very peculiar view of it. Like she's not really afraid of it, but she wants to make sure that, hey, if you're alive now, just be alive, be alive as much as you can, and then when you're dead, let me help you. Yeah. And then it's there's a good duality to it. I just like the art style in this one is very unique, because it feels very much like how Hoyoverse does some of their character animations whenever they tell stories, very 2D kind of like colored pencil look,
right?
But just it's easy to follow along. It goes pretty fast though, like a lot of the words just kind of fly across the screen, but I like how they still put it up for you on the screen. So
I like that it was a lyric video in a sense, and it was like it was, the lyrics were coming up in time with the music, and it was emphasized the parts that were emphasized in the music, and it's very easy to follow along because if we didn't have that, it would be a little bit harder to understand, especially for people who can't catch like fast spoken words in songs. But having the lyrics on screen made it that much easier to digest. It was funny because this was actually one of the ones. This is the only one in the Hoyofair like presentation that actually had a warning, like a trigger warning, ahead of time for people like traumatic content, and I think it's specifically referring to death. But yeah, there was given a warning before they actually played it during the Hoyofair. So there was a lot of songs in this Hoyofair, and there was that Hu Tao song, and then there was a Scaramouche song that was in Japanese. There was like a couple of like anime opening-esque songs, with like all the characters like in normal everyday slice of life style videos too, and they were all really good. The lyrics were really good. They have to do with the story in some way. Like Scaramouche's song really had to do with his background. The other songs had to do with like slice of life stuff. So it was really like, oh, I want to adventure with my friends and stuff, as well as the musical ones at the end, like the "Oh Traveler Come." Like there's this like song where it's really emotional, because like you can see like kind of our journey so far, and the animation was very, very good for that one. So there was a lot of musical works, and there was actually a lot of love for Hu Tao this Hoyofair, which is really interesting. Of course,
Well, there always is.
yeah, but like I mean, there was a lot like this time. Like she was the main girl for a lot of these things. Even the Genshin RPG, which I wanted to talk about next. So the Genshin RPG, you watched that one, right, Kahi?
Yes, I did. The 8-bit character one.
Yeah. So well, it was more like 16 to 32-bit, but it was like Hu Tao was like running a shop, like a convenience store, and was trying to make money to like roll for or to get a new artifact, like a 5-star artifact, and it was really creative. That's all I'll say. Like imagine Hu Tao being the owner of a convenience store, and all the Genshin characters coming in different times, like to look for different things. So it's been it was really funny, and then they had like a fight at the end with like Hu Tao versus Zhongli, which was really cool. It's like a Final Fantasy-esque fight. So yeah, what do you think of that one?
I like it. It always has a unique style. Anytime you have like these, 8, 16, 32-bit characters, not like it's not 3-dimensional, but it's always like it takes a very like static camera view, and you have all the characters and you see them from that very, very specific angle. It's fun because the music that plays along with it is very also like 8-bit tracks.
Yeah.
It matches like the visuals with the audio. This one I feel like the characters are a little small, so like you couldn't really like see expression, you couldn't really like see what's going on in that little space, because the camera was like kind of zoomed out pretty far, so you can get a view of the space, which is good because it played like a video game. Like if that's like how the camera's locked in, you have to move your characters around. But yeah, I like this one. It had some fun, had some personality to it, especially with the fight. Zhongli just pops the pillar and just you can't do anything to him, and he starts healing whenever you start fighting him.
That was
Hilarious.
like his like I don't remember which constellation, but like once you get a certain constellation with him, his shield starts healing, right? So
that's a pretty late constellation.
yeah,
I think
it might even be 6.
It might be
4 or 6.
Might be C6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
So, but yeah, that is pretty funny. Like little twist there. And then there was the Aether interview, or should I say Aaron. And it was really funny and random and creative. But it was like Aether is interviewing to become a Fatui Harbinger for some reason, and like all these other characters from Genshin are also interviewing for some reason, but Aether goes in disguised as Aaron and does some tasks for the Harbingers, who are like the bosses of the company. And like for some reason, like the picture of dead Senora, like it's like with flowers and it's like a little memorial, but like she's talking to him anyway, like she's still there. I don't know, it was really random, but it was also just really funny how Child comes in at the end and it's just like, oh hey Aether, what are you doing here, and just like blows his cover. Oh man. But yeah, what do you think about that one?
This one was hilarious because Senora was just in a picture frame.
Right?
Still on the board. Because even Piero was like, we lost 2 of our board members. And I'm like, wait, Senora's right there. Oh, wait, she's in a picture.
Right?
And she's still communicating. I thought that was hilarious.
That was so random.
And I feel like that's such a child way to like, have the whole plan go astray, because he comes in and he's like, oh hey Aether, like, oh crap.
I like how that was like
well.
at the moment where he was about to shake El Capitan's hand to like join, and then like what is it, like he imagines himself like being there and being like the leader of the Fatuis, or like one of the Fatuis. It was so funny, like the like quick little flash forward almost. And then Child comes in and ruins the whole thing. It was so great. So yeah, that was a funny one. There was another one that was more emotional. It was called Coco, Cat's Dreamland Journey, and it was similar to the movie Coco, which if you haven't seen, which I believe is a Disney Pixar movie. It's about the
It's a Day of the Dead. It's a festival, I think.
Yes, it's a story based on the Mexican holiday, the Day of the Dead, where they celebrate the life of the people who have passed away, and there is like a whole world where the dead people go. It's kind of like it is an afterlife, and it's a really interesting kind of concept. Like this world exists alongside our world, and so like in this story, which is like paints the afterlife in a similar light. Scaramouche in his cat version goes into this world and like meets a bunch of people who have passed away, including the people that were dearest to him. If you know Scaramouche's background, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was pretty emotional to kind of like go through and see all the characters that passed away. You get to see you get to see Makoto and her like friend group that passed away. You see some like different references to like Kaya's father. You do see Kaya's father reference, but then also Diluc's father.
Like just the hand.
You see what's it called? Like what is his name?
Oh, Tepe?
Tepe, yeah. So you see like Tepe hanging, like Tepe's spirit hanging out with all the other people like Goro and the
Oh, spoiler by the way. All these people are dead.
Yeah, well, at this point, that's not new news, but anyway. So yeah, I guess it is a little bit of a spoiler, but there's a lot of emotional moments in this one because you go through the characters that have experienced that we've experienced loss for in some way or another in the story so far, and it's kind of a lot when you think about it. Like a lot of characters that have been brought up are either already deceased or have deceased during the course of this game. So it's pretty interesting. So yeah, what did you think of that one?
This one I like because it was very heartwarming. Like it goes into all these characters who we've learned about and are no longer here, but you see them still enjoying some bit of existence or life in another life, or the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's very nice, very calming, very, very fun. The animation is cute too, so it's
right.
very, very childlike. There's nothing wrong with this one. I feel like sometimes I want these things to be actually portrayed like in the game. I know we got some of them like in Inazuma during like the last summer event where you were looking at this, I forget, this one guy, and he met a yokai and he kept going back and forth like
right.
challenge and fight him. And then we had the one where that one lady just like evolved from an umbrella. Was it an umbrella?
No, it was fans. It was fans.
Oh, fan, right. Yeah, so we got to see like some of that kind of that whole fair or that full festival in the game. I wish there were like more moments like this though. Like, hey, like this is how like their stories wrap up, or this is what's going on in this area, like the Windbloom Festival, how we see like everyone is kind of just chilling out in Mondstadt.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they don't do it a lot, I guess, for like pacing reasons or like to keep up the tempo of a story, because they don't want it to be like super sad all the time. They don't want it to be super serious all the time. So they take these beats, like they have a serious moment and they have a calming and a rest point, and then
there's a lot of a lot of open-ended stuff in the game, and the game's still going and it will be going for a while, so they can always revisit and reference these things in the future. So I don't think at all it's the last of any of the things we've heard from, like, for example, the yokai part of Inazuma or other things like that. Yeah. So we'll probably see something, but game has been out for a good amount of time, but we're still at the very beginning of this story. I feel like we're still not even close.
Right around half.
Yeah, not even. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think we're about half, but we'll see what happens. But yeah,
close. Yeah,
because I still feel like there's gonna be a big reveal that happens that changes everything about the game, and everything about the way we look at the game. So we'll see what happens, because Honkai, if Honkai is any indication, there's still a lot of crazy stuff that is yet to happen. So the story has already progressed so much with the Sumeru Archon quests, with what's possible. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, so then that.
I think
Oh yeah.
one thing. Mhm. One thing about the. Dang it, what was I gonna say? It's like something specific. The story that was, revealed in Sumeru was so highly important to like what's going on with everything in the world that I don't know how they're going to introduce new revelations of this importance. Because
I'm telling you, Kahi.
we talk about like Airman Soul, like Kaienria, and like the Abyss is like all like here. Like we're seeing the root of everything pop up from here. I don't know how it's gonna get more important later on.
I'm telling you,
I don't know what other zone would
the
be.
beginning of the
Oh
craziness.
my goodness!
We'll see, right? Okay, so
More animation.
more animation. So just a couple more. Sino animation. Sino, I think it was called like Sino versus the Gods or something like that. And it was a
That
very,
one was
very good.
creepy but good.
Yeah, very,
Yes,
very
creepy
good
in a good way.
animation. Very creepy, but very cool, and it's just a very interesting way to imagine Sino getting his abilities, basically. So yeah, tell me what you liked about this one, Kahi.
So animation, super like hyper stylistic because it's like traditional 2D anime, but because it's like a fast-paced fight scene, a lot of the figures are like stretched out, like their arms and limbs go in like very dynamic poses, and it's very fast, very quick. So you don't get a lot of time to just kind of like sit and watch like each frame and like see like how their action is actually going to be set up for the next attack and whatnot. Everything just goes, and like they're already, once you like defeat one person, you're already fighting the next person. So yeah, he's fighting like a bunch of people to get to, and I'm assuming that's Anubis at the end, like to claim his power. There's a very cool twist at the end about how that happens, but yeah, remember Sino is still pretty young in the game already, but then that means he got his powers when he was younger, so that's even further back. So we don't know how long he's had this power for, but apparently he's must have gotten when he was very, very young. So the guy knows his way around a spear. It was also nice to like see Candace, Dia, and that one other guy. I don't know what his name was. I don't know if that was like a specific character or just like another character. But yeah, I love the hyper stylized anime style in this one. But is there like a certain part that you liked, or like a certain fight that you liked?
I mean, I really like. I'm obviously sort of biased or whatever, but like Candace and Dia. So just like seeing their like transforming kind of state like while they're fighting is really cool.
Yeah, I like how like everyone has like, yeah, they have a transformation, or like their bankai, if you want to call it that. Like there's special mode, and then they start fighting in like full power. I really like a good twist, because since I'm talking about Oshinoko earlier, like it's stories where like I don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't seem predictable at all, but makes perfect sense once it happens. That's what I like. Predictable stories, sometimes can be good because, oh yes, it would be nice if this happened, and then it happens. You're like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's cool. Okay, everyone's fine. But when it comes to like serious stories, you want it to be intriguing, so you want to always be like on your toes when you're watching it. You always want to be like holding your breath at some point, and then when the resolution or like the solution happens, or whatever you want to call it, you want it to be satisfying. You want it to be like really intense. At the end of the animation, like when you basically just saw Anubis just standing there, like after all of that fight, you don't even know if it was in another realm or in his head or whatever. It's just like, okay, yeah, you fought through all that, but here's how the bestowing happened. Here's how my power is gonna be bestowed upon you. Yeah, it was a cool little story. I like how a lot of these other animations that we're gonna talk about later on do have storytelling to it. A lot of these storytelling aspects. The other ones were like good storytelling in a song form,
Right.
but not so much like they're describing a scene or like here's how like they're behaving, here's the conflict, here's the resolution to that conflict, right? But yeah, Sino's one was like a really good, vivid animation that I can remember. I think a lot of clips that I saw online had like Sino as the thumbnail, and then we saw the other ones. But yeah, did you want to talk about the next one?
So yeah, I wanted to talk about the Dia and Al Haytham animation called Encounter Amongst the Dunes. But real quick before that, I wanted to say that the Sino animation is by an artist known as Kieru, and this person made another Hoyofair animation about the Futuri Harbingers, and they have some other really cool animations, so definitely go check them out if you haven't already. But yeah, this Dia and Al Haytham animation, Encounter Amongst the Dunes, is really well animated and shows off Al Haytham and Dia's abilities in like a really interesting, cool, choreographed fight scene between those two and a bunch of ruin guards. Or ruin drakes, two ruin drakes, and or something like some ruin monsters, and then the giant ruin golem. So it was very actiony, very funny. Like Dia keeps her, personality. Of course, Al Haytham is like very short and to the point, but it was a really cool fight scene to see them fight together. Actually, in that sense. So, what did you think about that one, Kahi?
I love of all the fights. I think this was like the most like dynamic and well choreographed. It had a good steady progression of like you start off fighting on the ground, you start off fighting bigger enemies and flying enemies, and then the big enemy. So I like how like the scale like fights that scale up. It's kind of like the how in Gurren Lagann. You remember that a long time ago? So you start off fighting literally underground, then you start fighting people above ground, then you start fighting like in the air, then you start fighting in space. So like fights that just constantly scale upwards is like, oh wow, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get bigger, it's more serious, it's more bigger enemies, yay. So yeah, it's just fun. You just like watching the fight get almost out of control and get almost ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it just ends with like one big punch. It's so satisfying. It's fun.
One thing that's funny as I noticed is like there was that other animation where Dia and Yelan take a car, and
Dylan Goo.
yeah, and Dia at that point we hadn't known Dia's abilities yet, so Dia just kind of uses her greatsword and just like attacks like you would expect someone with a greatsword to attack and stuff. But in this animation we know Dia's abilities, so like they do the fire punches, and they do like there's one really cool little detail that I really liked about this animation where like Dia's running up to the golem and her sword is floating behind her like in game, like it's just floating with her, and then when she goes to attack it just appears in her hand, like it flashes into her hand. It was like such a cool moment that if you didn't notice it, I recommend you go back and check it out, because I was like, man, that is like a fun game accurate detail to put into like this really choreographed fight scene thing, because like obviously outside of the game, if you're just choreographing this kind of scene with these kind of characters, they would be holding the sword in a more realistic way, like on their back in some kind of holster or like in their hand or whatever. But like they did the Genshin thing and they like made the sword float behind them as she was sprinting, and then when she goes to attack it just appears in her hand. I thought that was a super cool little detail.
Oh yeah, because it's naturally assumed like when you kind of break the realism or the expected realism of the world, like some people they get pulled out of it, they kind of get taken aback and they don't think they're not immersed anymore. But we all see that, we all know it, we all experience that in the game, so that's a thing we know that can happen. So the audience will be very accepting of that, so it's not out of place at all. But yeah, if you do something like that's completely out of character, then yes, like, hey, that character would never do that, or that character can't do that, or this isn't like them at all, this is not their personality, they don't even look like that. But it's very, they were able to play with like some game mechanics in the game, and just to keep people like immersed in that story. It was good. I really liked that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. I also thought you would like that one. Okay, so then the last thing I want to talk about was the Dylan Goo animation. Speaking of Dylan Goo, last time they submitted the like a Yelan and Dia stealing treasure. That was kind of like a interesting like dynamic between the two of them while they were like doing this
The
job.
box.
Yeah, they stole a car. That's what it was. They stole a car, and so and I think it's called Yelan and Dia steal a car or something like that, and so that Dylan Goo, the animator, is part of the or used to be part of the Ruby team. Is that right?
Yeah, the original Ruby
Yeah,
team when
when
Monty was there, Shane
so,
was there.
like very very experienced animator, and they have a new animation that showcased this spring Hoyofair 2023, which is called Progenitor, I think, and it was it was a story in like set in a it was a story set in a futuristic like cyberpunk-esque world, with like some references here and there to like Genshin, like the golden apple looked like a bar or something, and there was Albedo and Raiden Shogun and then Klee, and just Albedo's clones as like the robot cops that are patrolling the city, and there's like a war to fight, and it was just like really that short. It was like relatively short. It was like 5 minutes or something, that shows this world, like this really really fleshed out idea of a world, and we only got to see a little bit. But at the end of that animation, they said that the full episode will be released on April 28th, I believe, or 27th, and I'm really, really excited for it. I'm thinking to do like a watch party online too, so if you haven't joined the Discord yet, join the Discord, and then I'll be streaming it on Twitch or on Discord. I haven't decided yet, but very, very excited to watch it. But that animation was spectacular. The storytelling was fantastic. The voice acting was great. Kahi, what did you really like about this one?
I like it. What I like about this one is that, yeah, there's dialogue, there's actual, lore and background to it. There's, characters that intersect and like, meet up, and they have their own little like backstories too. It's a good show, not tell, because, when Klee showed up, it wasn't emphasized, but she called Albedo her brother. Or when Scaramouche was kind of in like the background, he was known as like he just was hacking like the whole city, the weather system, to like properly time when the bot would look up, so that the moment they turned the corner they could just go down the alley and then not be seen. That was like such a wanderer thing to do, right? But yeah, Dylan, because he has background in actual like big animation stories, and planning scenes, and actually making some kind of story to each of his works. He does this very well. He does like good storyboarding, he does good planning, he has a good crew, and he has the experience to know how moments can tie together, especially like when you switch over like to like chasing cameras. Like when you have a chase scene, like you can't just have it from switch like this point of view, that point of view, this point of view, that point of view. It goes all over the place,
right?
So you get an overhead view of where they're going. You get like a close-up of what it looks like from the street level.
Oh, Scaramouche was in there too. That's right.
Yeah, Wonder. Yeah, he was. Right. He was like the one that was seeing all of like their icons on the map, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna hack them now, and then all he does is causes some rain to fall.
But so it looked like he was on their side then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
And they all have like something that ties into their Genshin character style, because Klee had her bombs, Albedo had his clones, Raiden Shogun still has her like lightning powers, and I guess her sword and umbrella style. So yeah, they still it's all still familiar, just in a new world. I feel like if Genshin ever like morphed into Honkai, I feel like this is kind of like the transition phase.
I do get those vibes. That's great. Yeah, so this is great. Hopefully we can see the full episode soon. And I mean, I would love for it to be continued as a series, but I wonder how far it would go. So that's kind of just a quick summary of some of the highlights that I wanted to share from Spring Hoyofair 2023. It was very, very well done. All the artists I think should be proud of their works for being there. They're all amazing, even the ones I didn't mention today specifically, or we didn't mention today specifically. And yeah, if you haven't already seen it, go check it out. There is a VOD on YouTube. You can look it up by looking for the Hoyofair account, and it'll be there. So yeah, it's about an hour and a half long or so. So check it out if you have the time. Okay, so that ends our Hoyofair segment. So let's go on to our what is a good fight, what makes a good fight segment. So Kahi, go ahead and start us off.
All right. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because I know we're going to be talking about story next episode, or a lot of the big story things later on. But there was something that happened during a fight, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there was dialogue during the fight, and I actually killed the boss too quickly, so I couldn't get out the dialogue. I don't remember this ever happening in any other boss fights before, or any other like story fights.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it was weird. No,
to me,
yeah, it's really weird because like I was about to get interested in what they were talking about, because normally I think, okay, this is just like a one-liner, and then the rest is just a fight. But they kept talking in the background, and I'm like, oh, this seems important. And by the time I had that realization, the fight was over. And so that was one of the only moments that I can, in recent memory, that I can think of where I thought, whoa, I'm too strong. Whoa, that was a little too quick. Maybe I should have slowed down. Maybe I shouldn't have, been trying so hard. Maybe I should, spam so many abilities. But then, it's over. So the fight was like relatively quick, and I feel like I missed out on some stuff. So now I have to look up a video to know exactly what was said. So it was an interesting fight, but I felt like I didn't play that correctly. I did feel like I wasn't playing the fight like how the game wanted me to play the fight. So I just kind of I felt like I skipped over everything. What would you, Josh, in your opinion, how would you define a good fight? Not talking about Genshin, but like, what makes you think, wow, that fight was good? Like coming from any video game.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, but you do mean video games, right?
Yes, video game fight.
I guess a fight that makes you think about your actions, like you have decisions to make during the fight, and do those decisions pay off? And like it makes you think, like, what is my opponent gonna do? And then you guess that correctly, for example. I think that a good fight does challenge you, but if you make all the correct choices and you win quickly, I think that could still be considered a good fight. But like in terms of like story and stuff, what you're talking about, like if the cutscene ends before, if the fight ends before the cutscene, like in the dialogue, then that's not a great experience for sure. But I don't know if I would say in your case if that would be considered a bad fight because you killed it so fast, or you beat the boss so fast.
Yeah, so it's conflicting. I can't say it was bad. I can't, but it's also like, was that a good fight? I mean, it was kind of fun, like new boss and little mechanics here and there. But wow, I just steamrolled through that whole thing.
Yeah.
It was like a very rare moment where I thought, oh, I'm too powerful. I'm too good.
I'm too good.
But yeah, well, slow down. It's almost like, from a game design perspective, I know there's been games where certain bosses have like an invincible phase where, oh, you can't damage me because I'm about to do something, right. Or oh, I'm gonna go over here outside of the battle arena and you have to watch me for like a minute.
So those are frustrating to me. I actually don't like those kinds of fights.
Yeah. You're out of control.
Yeah, it's not even about being out of control. It's more like the pacing gets stopped. Like, I think a good fight has...
Oh yeah, you're on a roll.
Yeah, I think a good fight has good pacing. So even if the boss is to go invincible for a little bit, maybe it's after something really difficult just happened, and then so you have to there are some games where button mashing, where you have to mash this button to fight this enemy in an active cutscene or something, right? You mash, and then after that the boss goes invincible for a little bit, talks, change forms, whatever, and then you can kind of rest your hand, or you can like
Yeah,
rest
because there's
your
a transition.
yeah, you
right.
can rest. But like if you
Transition
if you
phase.
blast through a boss and then you have to wait for the boss to do something, you know, like, man, do I hate fighting as Daha. Like, you know, because like you have to
Mm-hmm.
like stay really far away from him most of the time, or you know, when you do go up to him and then like he does the cutscene and you have to wait for it, and like it's just not fun for me. Like I don't think that that's
Yeah.
has good pacing in my opinion.
Yeah. So pacing, letting you, I guess, control the pace of the fight, and also like giving you ample time to rest and transition to the next phase. Like I'm okay with like transition phases. I'm okay with like immunity phases too, because if I'm like in the middle of damaging and you just stop me because the boss has to do something, yeah, I don't really like that. But if I know that I have to like defeat this one part of the boss in order to force the boss to change shifts, I know I caused that, and now I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. Right? I know I have to like, destroy like the weak spots on the boss, and then the boss breaks, and then it reveals the boss inside the boss, and yeah, that's good because I'm doing a lot of damage. It stopped me, but it's because I was trying to not so much defeat the boss right there, but I was trying to get the boss to another stage.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like what was a good fight in Genshin? Do you remember like that's I guess maybe I would say what's the best fight in your opinion
Well,
in Genshin?
I guess so. I think a really good fight in Genshin so far, was actually Child. Like I think that there's only one thing I don't
okay.
like about that fight. There's one thing I don't like about that fight, and that is if you get hit by him and he puts the purple mark on you, the only way to get rid of it is by running to the edge of the arena. And there's nothing that explains that or that makes no actual sense why you're supposed to do that.
Oh, visually,
Yeah.
yes,
Like
yeah.
what? Like you get the purple mark on you, you just walk to the edge of the arena, it goes away. Like I don't understand why that's a thing. Like there's no way to get rid of it otherwise, as far as I know. So, and if you leave it on you, you just take a ton of damage. So, yeah, it just feels like that mechanic should be explained better. But other than that, I love his 3 phases. I love that he goes through like a phase that shows off like his abilities, and it's not too hard. But if you're not paying attention, you can get basically insta killed. You know, they give you a lot of there's a lot of dramatic flair to when he's going to do a big attack that's going to do a lot of damage to you. And so that's your cue, right? Like if you're paying attention to the fight, you know, okay, he's going to do something. And just being able to infer that from what's happening, from the acting, from the characters, the boss's pattern, it was really fun doing that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people just do that fight for fun sometimes, because it's a cool fight, you know?
Yeah. I'd say, yeah, it has multiple phases because you have different things to look forward to. You have your strategy can somewhat change because now the boss is going to move differently. There's going to be another attack incoming, so you can't just spam attacks like in the beginning. But yeah, I was actually surprised you said that fight. But for me, it was actually a story fight. It was the Raiden Shogun story fight, but it wasn't just the one battle. It was the first battle when you first encounter her, and then the continuation where you finally beat her later on. So it was like it was spaced out over time. The reason why I like this fight is because when you first meet Raiden Shogun and you first go into like the plane of Euthymia, and then you fight her, you are doing such little damage that it's like mathematically impossible to beat her that first time, because you're meeting like the most powerful Archon you've ever met in the game after like a year and a half. And then you're facing this overwhelmingly powerful boss. And how do you make the game, communicate this to you? Like, how do you get put into a situation where you feel like this is a threat? This is a very, very big threat. Like, I've never faced anyone like this before. Well, you nerf their damage. You give the boss like ridiculous, like almost unavoidable attacks. You like the thing that also like shocked me is like midway through the fight, she locks your abilities, so now you're even weaker, and you're getting really close to like failing the whole thing. It was just it was a very, very hectic fight because you're at the mercy of this Archon, and there's nothing you can do to actually damage the boss, but you're still trying anyways just to see like how far you can get. And the story just immediately, like, once you get to like a certain health point in your, what is it, a certain point in your health bar, it then just goes into cutscenes. But just the fight itself was like, it was a storytelling, it was part of the storytelling. But then later on, when you fight her the second time, after you go through like the rest of the story, when you meet Yaimiko, when you meet all the other people in the shrine, you learn more about A's backstory, and then you fight her the second time, you're a little bit stronger. So you feel like you've progressed. You feel like you're actually working towards, getting more powerful enough to equal or rival the god. And then now you can actually do some good damage. And now you go through like boss phases. But that fight during the story was so like rewarding, because you felt like you worked for this. Like, yes, I'm better than the first time. Now let's have a good battle this time around. So the first impression was, yes, you're completely at her mercy. You can't win. But now this time, you feel like you genuinely have a chance, because now you can actually fight more on equal terms. And now you even know like why you're fighting her. Now you know like why she's like this. So there's even the backstory element to it. So you have that knowledge carrying you throughout that entire fight. It was amazing. To me, that was a really well planned and well choreographed like kind of fight throughout this story.
It's so interesting, because like I don't like that fight because I don't
really?
like, look,
Oh,
this is the thing. This is the
okay.
thing in video games, right? I don't like the fights that you are meant to lose. Okay? Because unless
gotcha.
it's
I can see that,
like
yeah.
glaringly obvious, where it's like you hit him once, it does 0 damage, and then he just one-shots you, and it's like, oh, I lost that fight. Wow, this guy's really strong. Like, and it's to the point. But like, again, I don't like the fights that make you fight, like make you work just to lose in the end anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a huge fan of those.
Yeah, I can completely understand that one.
So
Yes.
I mean, obviously, like the storytelling involved in everything, the ride and fight is cool, but I definitely wouldn't pick it up there with one of my favorite fights, especially because like I actually died the first time that I did that, and I was like, how am I supposed to win against this when she just locked all my abilities? And then I thought,
very frustrating.
And then I thought,
yeah.
like, oh, it says the Vision Hunt Decree is in effect. You cannot use your abilities except for the Traveler. And I was like, okay, so, and I didn't have Traveler on my team, so I couldn't do anything. So I could literally only smack people.
I know.
So and then I died, and then I was like, what the heck? Do I have to put Traveler on my team? At that point, I hadn't had Traveler leveled up enough, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just put Traveler on my team anyway. Maybe I can still use my abilities. But then I realized my Traveler was Electro, and then I couldn't do anything to her. But the point is, like, it wasn't super obvious to me that there wasn't, that the game still wants you to try. The game wants you to try to fight, only to stop you at some point. But you can die, and you can lose that fight. So, like, I just thought that I don't like that kind of fight, because that makes me feel like it's almost like faking, like pretending that I'm in control of something, but actually I'm not in control of anything.
It's pointless,
yeah.
right? Because like, if I'm intended to lose anyways, why am I even fighting?
Right? Why am I
but
trying?
Because we didn't know that, yeah. But because we didn't know that, the game can be really clever or it can be really dumb sometimes when it explains a fight, because visually you should know, hey, I see this is what that means, or hey, I have a mark on me, should I take this somewhere? How do I get rid of this thing? Like, the game does very well in this one particular instance, but it puts you in a very specific kind of position that it wants you to be in for that part of the story.
Well, let me tell you something about that specifically, because this is what I think would fix that fight for me. If she does when the Vision Hunt decree is in effect, when she does that moment, like, you're just fighting her, right? And then it says that on the screen, like, text just comes up on the screen, and then all of a sudden all your abilities are locked. If instead of that, no matter what party that you go in with, if that moment that's supposed to happen was a small cutscene showing her, like, absorbing energy from your visions, or chaining you with some sort of electro chains or something.
Yeah,
and then,
I see it.
So it breaks up the fight for a second, and then it kicks you out, but then you also have Traveler on your team to show, like, Traveler isn't affected by the Vision Hunt Decree, because you don't feel that unless you have Traveler in your team. Which that fight is the reason I always bring Traveler in all my story quests. Like I always play through story
See?
with Traveler
Interesting. Okay.
because like if that crap happens again, I'll have no idea how it affects the Traveler versus everybody else.
Uh-huh.
So, and I think that for something like that's so important like that, to get you to feel that, they should force you to have Traveler, or they should give you Traveler. You know how they give you a 5th character sometimes? They should just give you your Traveler, like as an extra character on top of the team you already have, so that you can say, oh crap, like I can use Traveler still, but like, oh, I didn't add him to my team. Like I hate that. So I wish that they would do that, and then I would have felt like maybe the fight would have been much more memorable in a sense, because I had to find out the hard way that that's what happens. I had to find out the hard way that you had to do that.
Yeah, and to your point, to be fair to you as well, like if they give you like a 5th character, that's an extra character that you can use to fight the boss. Yes, I completely agree. That would be great. It's if they just always have Traveler on your team during really important story missions.
Yeah.
It's also going to tell you that, oh my goodness, this must be a really important fight. My Traveler's here again. They're giving me the 5th character.
Exactly.
They only do that during like character stories, because you have to demo the character and see how it revolves with the rest of your party. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that part. For me, from my perspective, is I'm taking the perspective of like storytelling methods, because only video games can do this kind of thing, where they can actually put you into the place of the main character, or the character that the story is talking about in the moment. Because books, TV shows, movies, they can't do that. You just have to sit there and watch everything. You have no influence over the scene. You have no control over it. That's why video games is such a really fascinating like method or medium of storytelling, because you can do all this.
My favorite.
You're in these situations yourself. Yes, people love video games. Like people they want to be involved in some way, but sometimes even like when they get frustrated, that's part of the storytelling too, is you have that much more empathy for what the character themselves are going through. And yeah, it's a negative emotion, but I mean, games have sad moments. Games have moments where like the characters die straight up. You see characters that go through a lot of bad things, and you feel that empathy. You feel, sympathetic sometimes toward them. This is another way of looking at it. So while it is incredibly frustrating to like fight a boss that you know you're going to lose to, or especially
fight
in
a
the
boss
moment where
you don't know if you're going to lose.
Yeah, you didn't know. I had no idea I was supposed to fail that fight, but you could still like die and not get to that health health flag.
Like if you like quote unquote die, and then it starts the cutscene that would have happened if you lost, then that would be a different thing, right? Because I'd be like, oh, I'm not supposed to win. But if I die, I'm like,
that would have been
supposed to win?
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yeah. So
but I think the game was trying to be a little bit too particular about how it wanted you to get to that point, where yes, it's a little bit fine-tuning here and there would have made sense for like everything and for everyone.
Yeah.
But
so I see how you would say that one's a good fight, but like for me, I like good fight is not what comes to mind.
Okay. But like, since we're talking about like Genshin, how the Genshin did this fight, do you see like a way that Genshin fights, or like bosses, mobs, domains, and just combat, how like the fight is, staged in Genshin? Do you see how it's a little bit different from other games? Is there like a big difference between how you fight things in Genshin versus how you fight in other games?
Well, I mean, I play a lot of games. And I will say that like it's not the way Genshin does fights, like with cutscenes and stuff and mechanics, it's not different than a lot of other games. Like that's not where Genshin shines, right?
Very similar to other stuff,
Where Genshin shines is the combat system, which is the elements, right? And
the character switching.
Yeah, the character switching, even without the character switching, even if you're playing co-op, like seeing those, like being able to be creative and to take what happens in the moment, like if you're fighting with an elemental enemy and using that element against the other enemies, like, or using that element against the enemy itself, like melting a cryo slime or a hydro slime, vaporize, right? Like
a counter,
that kind of thing. It's very, very satisfying to do in Genshin. So I think that what makes Genshin stick out around the crowd is not. I mean, obviously there's the open world aspect of it, but also how fun the combat is, like how creative you can be while fighting, and how you can make characters that may not seem like they would work for something work in a different way, or like use an artifact set or an element to your advantage to make it interesting. And I think that's why Genshin's fights are more interesting in general. I can't say that it really matters per se during the boss fights, if we're talking like boss fights specifically, or like scripted fights, because a lot of those enemies aren't affected by elements the same way that the normal enemies are, right? You can't pull a lot of bosses, you can't freeze a lot of bosses, so it's like a totally different experience when you're fighting a boss versus when you're just fighting normal enemies in the game. So one thing that makes like Genshin and Hoyoverse like does this like gimmicky thing, like for example the Scaramouche fight, using the little floating thing to like zap the floor to like zap him, and using it to shoot the big dendro flower at him while he's charging up his abilities. Like that fight, also a really good fight because it's so unique. I mean, it's weird that like the little thing keeps shooting at him for you while you're not even attacking him. So
it's very different.
Yeah,
but that little thing that shoots, it also is almost like a relief, because you're still making progress even though you have to run, even though you have to avoid everything. So if you're the kind of person that just likes to play defensively or passively, you can still like make progress on the boss's like pseudo health bar. It's a shield thing, but you can still affect the boss. You can still like progress through the fight while running away. So it's fine. Like it's accommodating to all kinds of playstyles. Some people always look for the mechanics first before they even try to damage the boss. Some people like to just damage the boss at every opportunity, and you actually you can run up to his feet and hit him. You can still like in the first phase, you can still like just face roll into the boss and still like get him and brute force your way past that first phase, which I didn't even find out until like way later. So yeah, there's so many different kinds of mechanics, and you can choose, okay, I'm gonna just do all my attacks over here, and then I'll do the mechanics over here, and then I'll do like one big burst at the end, and then yeah, that's great, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think for me, like one thing that Genshin does really well for like boss fights is like just the soft or the slow introduction to them. Like there's a pretty slow introduction and presentation to the bosses that feel like, okay, let's get ready for a fight, not just I run up to the boss, immediately start damaging the boss. Like some games, they don't have any kind of introductory cutscene, or don't have like some slow animation that has like the boss like pick up their weapons and get into like a damageable phase. So it almost feels like you're not introduced to the fight, you're just thrown into the fight, or you just wandered upon someone and now you just gotta defeat them. I'm trying to figure out like what game was this. I think there's some enemies in like God of War. You play God of War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies in God of War where just the moment you walk up to them, you're just immediately like starting to wail on them. You're just like, you're just attacking immediately. They're just doing their own thing, and there wasn't like any kind of build up. I feel like I know some people just want to just get through this enemy to go to the next enemy to go to the next enemy, and that's fine. But I don't feel as connected to the fight or the story of the fight or the reason why we're fighting. Because one thing Genshin always does really, really well is setting up stories.
Wait, let me stop you. You didn't play God of War, right?
I did not, but
Okay.
I saw so much gameplay where I lived vicariously through these streamers.
So like, God of War is like just a story game, right? Like
yeah,
you fight a bunch of random enemies, but like they set up a lot of the major boss fights really well. Like I think.
Oh yes, they do that.
Not for like the random boss fights. Like, this random enemy just shows up, let's fight it. You know what I mean? Like there's that too, but
like minor bosses, major bosses.
Yeah, but like those scripting in a lot of those fights too is like very similar to like what you see in Genshin during scripted fights, like fighting dragons in God of War, and like fighting Dvalin in Genshin. It's like not that dissimilar, you know. Obviously
Yeah,
they're
they share a
different,
lot of
but
similarities.
yeah, but
There's certain mobs that feel like this mob kind of looks important, or this mob kind of looks like they are like more involved in some way, but we're just already going right into the fight. Um, I guess for me, I do like, you know, presentation. Like I always remember that one line from Megamind. You remember watching that?
from what, Megamind?
Megamind?
Yeah.
You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
yeah, you're a villain, all right, but are you a super one? Oh, what's the difference? Presentation. So yeah, it's how they present the fight. It's how they, you know, it's how they transition you from face to face. It's how they present the boss in front of you, like, and say this. Hey, this is someone that's very important. Behold. And then yeah, okay, I get it. And then you go into the fight. I don't like fights that just throw you into it. Like, oh hey, suddenly you're in a fight. Like, it feels like a random mob. It feels like unimportant. So that's one thing I feel Genshin does really, really well. Some games do it, some games don't, but as you can tell, I really like storytelling.
How about Destiny? How does Destiny do good fight?
See, Destiny has, because everything is in first person, like in raids where you have the most important fights, there's like a time where the boss appears or like materializes, or you see the health bar like start to grow at the bottom and you see the name, and then the music kicks in, and then you have like the arena starts to change, and then suddenly you see where the mechanics begin, and now you're like, okay, we're getting into the fight. Not just the moment you step into the arena, shoot. So there's a progression, there's an introduction phase, and then there's the damage phase, and then there's like the transition phase, and then there's the setup, and then there's a lot of elements to those kinds of fights. So Destiny does it very similarly to a lot of other MMOs. Like they have a boss arena, they have the boss, like, you know, doing its thing. There's no like cutscenes in the middle of like an FPS shooting game until you're done, because like I feel like it would do a disservice to that game if, you know, you're from FPS game, if you're shooting things, if you trigger something, it just like completely like changes your screen to like a video, and then it has to put you back into like the first person view. It's very, very jarring. It moves the camera way too much. Whereas Genshin, because you're kind of in third person all the time anyways, the camera movement isn't as like abrupt, so you can kind of feel like eased into that fight. But I mean, Destiny is a different game in itself, but it does share, like Genshin, a lot of similar feels to fights and boss fights than to like other MMORPGs, like, you know, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy did it the best.
Yeah,
because there's so many phases and so many like different quick time events. Like I think there was a boss where you had to like, I saw someone playing a boss, and I thought, oh wow, this is a really cool
in 14
arena.
right?
But yeah, Final Fantasy 14, and in the middle of it, like in the middle of that cutscene, you had to like spam click, and I thought, oh wow, I'm not used to that, because I was a WoW guy.
That's probably fighting the samurai guy. I forgot his name. Yeah, you have to like.
Isn't it interesting how you can remember that?
Dude, the tank in that fight does that like cutscene, like that little like clicky cutscene. Like that's the only one where it's like that. Like if you're the person there in the front, you have to do that. It's pretty great.
See that, and that kind of like leads me to like my final point. Like there's things that leave a lasting impression on you. Like, why is that a good fight? Because you remember it. Because you remember the phases. Because you remember why it was important. Because you remember what happened.
Yes.
Like I remember the Raiden Shogun fight because I remember being frustrated but also fascinated. Because wow, this is a really tough enemy. Oh, this is really, really cool. I know I died, but oh, that was a good fight, even though I lost. But then the next time I fight, it's the same thing, but now we're on equal terms. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back, Raiden. Let's do this again. Let's go again. Oh, it was great. It was good setup. So yeah, storytelling plays a very big aspect of the enjoyment of a fight, or if it means something to you, like how meaningful is it if you remember it or not.
Nice.
So
yeah. Also,
yeah,
I remember the samurai is Susanoo. That's who it is.
Susanoo, yeah.
But yeah.
I don't remember playing. I haven't played Final Fantasy in like years. I might go back, but honestly, Destiny 2 and Genshin with a full-time job. That's 3 full-time jobs.
I mean, Destiny by itself is a full-time job. It's an MMO.
Oh goodness. It's fun. Yeah, we know how we feel about this. Well, let's see what our community feels. Like, let's see what they think. Josh, would you like to lead us in?
Yeah, let's transition over to our community question discussion now. And with last week's question, which was, what kind of animal person do you want to see in Genshin? So, Kahi, what kind of animal person do you want to see in Genshin?
And this is not for any particular preference, but just because if you're going to have like animal like people, then this is a common one that I think just looks really cool already. There's like the people with like an obvious like wolf head, like Worgen, or like there's wolf people, just literally a wolf person. What is that guy's name in Zenless Zone Zero?
Oh, I don't remember his name.
Vaughn something?
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
I don't know. Yeah, just because, if you have like an animal that looks the coolest in like a humanoid form, yeah, it's gonna be probably that, like a wolf head guy, like a werewolf. That'd be my only. I would like to see that kind of character design, just because it always looks really like cool and serious, very like sinister, very menacing look, especially when they just growl like, oh wow, this guy means business. What about you?
For me, I think like we see this all the time, but like a monkey person. So like
a Wukong person.
Yeah, like a Wukong type, because it's always interesting because they're so agile. Like just being able to like flip around and like they usually have like a pole arm of some sort or a pole, and it's really always fun to watch for me. So they usually like have swing their pole around in a really wide arc and have like this really fun play style. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see a monkey person in Genshin. I think it's very within the realm of possibility. I just have no idea when they would show up. So maybe Natlan, who knows?
Probably, because I wouldn't there could be snow monkeys.
Oh, snow monkeys in Snezhnaya.
Could be those. Yeah, they could. Or Fontaine's the water. Okay, because what's coming up? We have Fontaine, then Natlan, then Snezhnaya.
Yep.
And then the big dramatic conclusion. We don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So, as far as our community answers, Josh, we have a lot of really detailed ones from Discord, I believe. Would you like to read us some?
Yeah, sure. So, what kind of animal person do you want to see in Genshin? So, Paimon Yaka says sloth. It would be very slow, I'm sure.
But here's something interesting about that. Like, characters with like slow moves tend to be like really strong moves. So just setting up like one really huge like sword slash might be kind of fun, because it's just like a one-hit kill, kind of like Eula, but just more bulky and clunky. It'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, and I can't imagine like a sloth fighting, but that'd be really interesting to see. Valdemar says, give me Vishap person for lore reasons, please and thank you. Yes, that was actually one of the thoughts I had too. The Vishap people, like from the Enkonomiya storyline, kind of like serpent people.
Oh yeah, okay. Or like a scaly.
Yeah, like a Vishap person, I think, or a serpent person would be cool. Kelbo Baggin says, I think a parrot would be cool. No beak on their face, but they dress colorful and talk a lot. Haha.
Oh, bird person. Okay.
Yeah, I could definitely see that actually.
Oh, like a harpy style? Is that what you're thinking?
I would think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a harpy.
I agree with Valdemar. Give us Vishap people, says Insignia. Yeah, Vishap people. Yeah. Sarah Q says, give me a cute shark girl like Gargura. It would be so perfect for Fontaine.
Shark girl. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be perfect for Fontaine.
Yeah, there might be a shark character in Fontaine.
Yeah.
Water-based.
Why not?
That'd be fun.
Baby girl _28 says cat. Nothing more to say. Yeah, I mean more cat people. Pretty Why much. Not? Yeah. Kazu said, okay, I've thought about the question all day and had to create something and made a drawing of a fungus boy.
Fungus boy.
Oh man, fungus boy. Man, this makes me want to talk about the story. But yeah, so fungus boy would be really interesting. That's like not an animal person, but I guess it's not like a full humanoid person either. interesting.
Well, because technically, like in Sumeru, like the fungus became animals. So
Oh, that's
I
true.
guess you're technically correct.
That's true. That's true.
In Genshin.
That's a weird workaround for that question, but okay. Hossboy says, I was gonna say more marine life since Fontaine is up next. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right?
Yeah, shark girl. Because we have Kokomi, we have a fish girl. We could get more aquatic creatures.
That's true. L Bell says a puppy girl, cause right now it's all cat girls and puppy boys. No anthropomorphic diversity. Also a bear character once we get to Snezhnaya. Oh my god, a bear character.
That would be cool. I mean, both suggestions are good because you're right. They're all like the dog.
Wait a second, we have a
boys.
bear character in Zenless Zone Zero.
Like a literal bear. So yeah.
Fox with Wings says, "Oh man, since Fontaine's coming up, I feel strongly about mer people. Just any kind. Give me regular mermaids, tritons, sassy octopus ladies, stingray people, shark warriors. That would be so fun."
Very detailed. Yeah, very specific too.
Right?
Yes. I can tell you've been thinking about this one. Mad
Chipmunk says, "Ooh, I think a snake is absolutely something I'd love to see. A bird person, I mean, we have Alhaitham and Kaveh, but they don't exactly look like birds despite Alhaitham's constellation and the fact that Kaveh is probably based off of the greater bird of paradise and even shares the name of his constellation with the family of paradise, birds of paradise, Paradisia. Oh, and I guess Xiao too, but we don't see his bird form. Honestly, anything serpent-like would be interesting. By serpent-like, it could be even an eel person. Fontaine could have someone who at least is a water-based animal person. Oh, and despite technically not being an animal person, I really hope the Hydro Archon will be a polearm and not a catalyst. If the Archon is polearm, they could have a Triton, it's such a good opportunity.
It is.
That's a good point.
Definitely good.
A three-pronged polearm. Yeah.
That'd be nice. We don't know how heavily they're gonna lean into the aquatic theme though, because obviously, like, Sumeru has like very like lush greenery and very verdant and stuff like that. But yeah, like Fontaine is also known for like their judicial system, their arts, and their all their. I'm assuming like it's gonna be heavily revolved around visual art, like photo and paintings perhaps. But I don't know if they're gonna have a lot of musical focused arts, which would make sense. I mean,
yeah, we'll see. Healing Halo says, I randomly thought of a deer character. I love the look of deer antlers. It would look really cute on a character. Yeah, so kind of like Yanfei. Yeah, kind of like Yanfei, but bigger, I guess. Like more. He actually posted a picture of like huge antlers, like the moon carvers kind of antlers. You know what I mean? So yeah. Java Lope says, I would have to say a jackalope person, ears and antlers. Yep, there you go. TNT says some kind of bird, parrot, or peacock, maybe a hare or rabbit. Anything that is not a cat girl at this point. A fake cat girl at this point. And Charlie says, I think a reptile-based character could end up having really nice design. Nice. Rex Lap Isn't says, I would love to see the descendant of a Vishap or dragon. Kaching says, snake person. They could have fangs and stuff. Probably raise defense. Okay. Dave186 says, instead of more animal people, I'd rather see some personified elemental like a dryad or oceanid. Pandas and tigers will be fine too. Okay, nice. Yeah, so that's the Discord questions. Thank you guys for sharing your answers on Discord. If you haven't already joined the Discord, join and you can share your answers here. Otherwise, Spotify, Kahi.
Alright, and on Spotify. Again, question is, what kind of animal person do you want to see in Genshin? We have a user named Quark. A unicorn hybrid character would be cool to see. Ooh, that's an interesting one, a unicorn. Or like a... I'm also thinking like one of those characters that have like one of those single Oni horns. That might be cool. Mr. Zhongli says, I want to see a bird-like character so you could fly for a small time in their burst or something, a bit like Fischl, but you can also fly up so you can plunge into the enemy. Maybe they would boost plunge damage. So basically Scaramouche, but obviously more like bird-like. Imagine if they gave Kujo Sara that'd be great because she already has the wings but doesn't use them.
True.
Primo Gem is God says dinosaur because it's cool. Yep.
Yeah, dinosaur.
Dinosaur person. Amel Strange. Kappa. would be fun to have a balding character, player base represent. A kappa would be interesting, yeah, because it's not something you see often. I know, like, kappas don't appear like, in any video game that isn't like, you know, based off of Japan
there's a
theme or
kappa.
folklore.
There was a kappa at the event, right? Like little kids in the Inazuma event. Remember the kappa?
Oh, they were still using the kid models,
yeah.
but they just called themselves kappas.
Yeah, but they exist. So like
Okay.
maybe they could have like a real kappa character.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, might be interesting to see. Still waiting for them to actually show where the place is. It'll be nice to visit, kind of like the Golden Apple Archipelago. It could be just like I'm okay with it being like a time limited space, but just to know that, yes, here's the things we were talking about and alluding to. They exist. Just went for a side story, and now let's go back to main story. Next up we have Kai, which says a dragon person with an animal vision that lets them fly up and shoot animal dragon breath balls. They would probably be a catalyst user. So yeah, Scaramouche, but more dragon-like. Sorry, a lot of people they're describing Scaramouche, but they just kind of like the optics or the visuals of the animal people, which I totally get. There's like anthropomorphic people, and I would love to see them actually exhibit traits of their actual, you know, animal that they're representing. Peachy on Genshin says octopus or squid as a Splatoon reference, but honestly, Clipspringer. Clipspringer, Klipspringer. They are cute. Search it up. Or a macaroni and cheese pizza on top of a camel. Okay, what in the world?
This is just okay. So Peachy is a regular for those of you that have been listening who comments, and will just kind of go out of her way to like be confusing about the answers. So
okay,
yeah,
all right. I'm remembering some of the Peachy's other answers too. Like yes, this has to make a little sense. Thank you, Peachy.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Next up, Mr. James, a dolphin person, basically a Zora from Zelda. Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's nice.
They could swim really fast, right? And maybe their first passive is like a 25% less stamina consumption loss, right? They would be a Hydro Catalyst who functions as a main DPS. Hashtag Klee, just because. Interesting. Like a kind of like a shark person or a dolphin person, but yeah, Zora from Zelda. I'm starting to see that, because the design is there. They could just, you know, get some inspiration. Katsuha says, I actually think it would be cute that like hamster or a guinea pig person. And Josh, Katsuha is requesting, can we hear a little voice acting, Josh? Any voice line or anything? Can we just hear it? Would you like to do that now or later?
Yeah. I'll just read this comment in a different voice, in like a character voice. Okay, ready? I actually think it would be cute, like that hamster or guinea pig person. And can we hear a little voice acting, Josh? Any voice line or anything? Can we just hear it, please? Now. There you go.
That was really good. I gotta say that was you chose a good one for this one.
Yeah.
A good like personality for it.
Thanks.
Whew, that was good. All right. Next up. Before I continue, Katsuha, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, me too. You're welcome.
The Quiet Gem just asks for a dog. Just a dog.
So another Goro. Got it.
No.
Oh, wait.
Specifically Taromaru.
A Taromaru. There you go. I love
Taromaru.
it.
Oh, I would roll for that character. I cannot tell you how hard I would roll for Taromaru in my team.
C6?
Like a dog.
C6.
Yes.
Think so, yeah.
Oh, I would go for as many constellations. I don't care if they make it a 3-star character. I just want
a 3-star character.
I don't care. I want Taromaru on my team. I will buff him like crazy. Just to make him viable.
Heck yeah.
Okay, and the Lord says, lizard person. Yep, lizard people are great. Lizard people need to be represented.
Oh, I just thought something. You know, we should have a character that sends out the dog, like the dog ninjas. That would be totally a thing, right?
Oh yeah, because like there's, you know, Zhongling, there's Fischl, there's
yeah. Just like make one of the, like, you know, Ushi, what's his name puts out. Like we can,
You can have a better
they can just
Pokemon
come
team.
out and do like the sword slashes, kind of like in the event, right? Or they can just fight alongside you. Oh, that would be so cool.
However, if I had to pick between actually playing as Tautomato or summoning Tautomato,
Oh yeah, of
I
course
would
you'd
say
pick it.
I'm going to play as Tautomato.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And last up, Pimzo Balto. Hello, Pimzo. A ferret person. I absolutely love ferrets.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, they could be quick. They could be like crawling and scurrying around. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to see. Like, there's more. You don't really see ferret people in like games. I can't remember of a single character that's like obviously a ferret, but exhibits ferret-like traits. Because they're always gonna eventually look like another type of animal, and then people are just gonna assume they're either dog or cat or scale,
Right.
or something. But yeah, a lot of options, a lot of interesting types of hybrids that we could see in the future. But Fontaine probably gonna have a lot of aquatic characters.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be all of our responses from the Spotify people and our Discord people. So thank you everyone for your responses. And for our next question for next week, Josh, what's the question?
So next week's question is, what was your favorite fight or battle scene in Genshin? So you can share with us on Twitter by replying to the episode of this tweet. Oh, wait. You can reply on Twitter by replying to the tweet of this episode. You can also reply on Spotify, of course, and Discord. If you join our Discord, the link is in the description. We have a community question section where you can post and talk with the other members of the community about your question and your answer. So, yeah, so that ends our community discussion question segment. Now for our one last wish segment. Kahi, are you ready?
I am. I was trying to save my rolls for Baishu, but
One
okay,
roll, you can do it.
Maybe I'll get a weapon.
Okay, yeah. So
I don't want any characters.
For those of you that don't know, at the end of every episode, we will both pull once on any banner we want, and we'll see what happens. That's it. That's the whole segment. Okay. So Kahi, you want to go first?
All right, loading it up. My wishes. I'm going to roll for a weapon.
Which one are you, or do you want?
I already have the sword, the key of Kajni suit.
Same.
I mean, if I'm gonna go for a weapon, I might as well go for Nahida's weapon. I mean, she has a good weapon already, but might as well get hers.
There you go.
So, I'm gonna roll weapon banner. Incoming. It is blue.
Blue,
so
blue,
am I.
blue, blue.
Cool steel, not so cool.
Oh man,
Alright,
not
Josh, your
so
turn.
cool steel. All right, me too. I'm gonna do the same thing. I have Kiev Kanasut, I have Nahida, and I have Nilu. So I'm gonna try to roll in the hopes of getting Nilu's weapon. I mean, in the hopes of getting Nahida's weapon. Let's find out. It is blue. Oh my gosh, I got a blood-tainted greatsword.
You got the bigger sword, so you win.
That's how it works. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. That wraps up the show for today. As always, thanks for listening. And if you have the time, please leave us a comment and a review. We'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. Follow us on Twitter, once again, at Genshin Guys Pod. Follow me at JSide Gaming. Follow Kahi at Kahiao, Kahiyaao. And follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JSide. So, thank you everybody. And as always,
Ad Astra Abyssos.
Hoshitoshie Omezase.
Enjoy.